Alright, we'll see you when you get back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to you live from the Harley Heaven dealership in the city centre of Adelaide to bring you this 2021 Harley Davidson Fatboy. It is a little bit changed from the previous model year. It's got chrome on the front end now, and it still has that massive fat presence. The 240mm wide rear tyre, huge wheels. It's quite a specimen up close. And I can't wait to ride it because I've never ridden a Fatboy of any generation, never mind the latest and greatest. Super low seating position as with various other soft tail platform models. We'll fire it up. Whisper quiet because this is 100% stock. I went through it with the salesman before. Stock exhaust, stock everything. And we'll ease it out and see how life is like on a very fat, custom looking motorbike, which is 100% stock. But what I'm not prepared for, or if I'm not sure if I am or not, is how it will go around corners. I've heard mixed stories and reviews, but there's nothing like testing it out for yourself. So far so good. I mean, it's just one corner at low speed, but I got around it. Don't forget, this thing has a tyre that's wider than some so-called sports cars that are being sold in the world today. It is whispered Toyota Camry quiet, as you would expect with a stock exhaust. But boy, does the big 114 have some torque, and barely a split second up at the speed limit. Seating position and ride position fantastic. We've got floorboards for my big boots. Open air experience. Of course, my electric light's got the full windscreen and front fairing, so I'm getting the wind all up in my everything on this, and it feels great. So I'm going to take you through my city, around this horrible building of satanic soulless beings, otherwise known as the tax office. I feel immediately at home and comfortable on this thing. It's early days yet, but it doesn't feel even remotely challenging. But we're going to hit some corners and some curves on this test ride because I really want to see what it's all about. Look at that, look at the angle of my legs, super bent. We are low to the ground, which is probably why it feels good so far. We're in the city centre at the moment. We're at Victoria Square, dead centre of the city. You can see it's idling right at about 1,000. We've got a digital tachometer and an analog speedo arrangement. That's what I like about this model the most, is it combines futuristic styling with a little bit of old style flavour. I think they really knocked it out of the park when they updated the Fatboy. As you saw at the start of the video, this thing looks custom, but it is stock as a rock. This is how you buy it. $34,000 in the local money. You get a lot for your money visually. Even stock still has that growl, doesn't it, when I give it a little bit. Second gear is really all you need to get it up to legal speeds. Incredible torque. Right around 3,000 RPMs maximum torque. As we round the building, our Parliament building, where all the bad decisions are made, Festival Centre that they've been building and working on for over 3 years now, still looks exactly the same as it did 3 years ago. Probably slow down a little bit, but they should hurry up and build it as well. I love the positioning of the handlebars. That's what can throw you off when you're on a bike that you're not familiar with, is the location of the bars. This thing seems quite familiar to me, or at least I feel at home right away. Handling the bumps real good, as you expect a soft tail would. Here we go. The two or three corners I've taken so far, this thing is easy. Hopefully this van gets out of the way, otherwise it's about to be the slowest test review you've ever seen. Come on. Saturday afternoon here, so we're going to get a bit of traffic, but that's expected. I have no idea how this is so easy to flick left and right, being so wide, so fat. All the engineers in the comment section will be like, that's because it's super low to the ground and it's got the right tyre pressures and blah blah blah. But to look at, it shouldn't be able to go around corners or tip in easily, but it does. It just does. It was like a baby's toy.
That's like a baby's toy.
No problem whatsoever with my conscience selling it to a 95-year-old woman that just wanted something to get to bingo on a Sunday. So low to the ground. You don't need to be a yoga expert to flick your leg over it. And it just tips in like a regular bike, and it looks this custom, this wide, this fat, with the massive wheels. So solid. That's what I noticed about all the current Harley Davidson bikes I've tested. They have this rock solid, rock steady feel. That's 115 years of engineering tips and tricks that have been passed on. It's so nice to ride. Planted is the expression I'm looking for here. Super glued to the ground, but at the same time they're maneuverable. I was expecting something fat, cumbersome and a bit heavy. The floorboards are low to the ground, so you're not going to be able to get as low as perhaps you will. Definitely not as a sport bike, but as low as some of the other Harley models. So there is that. You're not going to be knee scraping or getting anywhere near that, but if you're expecting to do such a thing on this bike, you've bought the wrong bike. But to get it turned in, it is nothing. I would not be put off at all from buying this bike because of its wheel size. Already I wish these corners were a little bit tighter, because this is not enough of a test for this bike. I suspect it could handle pretty much anything. It's just eating up the corners. Unbelievable.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
What a great day to be out. Powering out of them like only a 114 can. What an experience. It is 28 degrees here today. I couldn't get a more perfect ride day. There's no wind, sun's out. A little bit of cloud just to, colour the skies. Now the Fatboy being quite fat, getting in between cars and trucks might be a little bit of a challenge on some roads. It's such a great feeling when you're on a total and utter comfortable cruiser, but at the same time you realise you could just about waste anything else on the road if you wanted to. And to the left is where they once held music festivals, when music festivals were a thing. If you fully crank it up, you really want to be leaning forward, like MotoGP leaning forward, because you will fall off the back in a rather comical Bugs Bunny fashion. I'll give it a little poke when we go up the hill here, just for research purposes. The old jail is to my left. Apparently it's haunted. They have ghost tours there. Never been on one, but it's a thing. People do it. Might just see what his fat rear tyres like for traction. That BMW to my left doesn't have a chance in hell unless I let it. And I'm on a cruiser. You wind on the power in these things. If you're not ready, you will fly off the back. Violent, ferocious torques on the big 114. We go around our former biggest nightclub in the city. Thousands of people used to attend on a Saturday night. It's been abandoned for years now. There's our newest exotic car dealership, and it's already moving. They were there barely a year and they're already moving out. A bit hard to sell high-end cars when everyone's got about $7 or $8 in their back pocket. Calling out to me, is he? Yeah. We've got a fan, our first, well not our first, but our first vocal fan of the day. This big old Fatboy has a lot of presence on the street. It's obviously not just me that thinks that. With all the political correctness and changes that are going on in the world at the moment, I mean, last week we had Dr. Seuss books cancelled. We had Mr. Potato Head is no longer Mr. Potato Head. I just can't help but think when the Fatboy is going to get complained about. I mean, this thing is named after the most infamous bomb, or bombs, landed in World War II that destroyed a big part of Japan. And the fact that it's called Fatboys when we can't call fat people fat anymore. And that's actually why I thought it was called Fatboy when I was younger. It's because all the riders are fat, so why not name it after them? And I thought that's why it was such a popular model. But this particular version of the Fatboy is incredibly fat, and I like it for that. It's just wide and it's low. It has such a presence. If I'm looking for things to pick on, I could pick perhaps this seat, although I haven't been in it that long. I feel like it is quite firm, and would I like being in it for an hour or 2 hours? I'm not so sure, but I am a good 10 kilos lighter than the last time I reviewed a bike. So I feel like now, if I'm to make excuses for the bike, I'm a bit too light perhaps than an average. I'm about 85 kilos now, about 100, what's that, 185 pounds, 190 pounds, something like that. So I'd be at the lighter end of most Harley riders, so maybe I'm just not putting enough of a dent in the seat to get the comfort out of it. But it is a firm seat. Stop for a little bit just to see what I look like perched on this beast. I'm about as vain as a 21-year-old girl on Instagram. Ready for university. What it really should be saying is get ready to spend $10,000 for a degree that'll get you nowhere. This is at the top of my list. I've just decided of the new models of the Harley Davidson lineup, a Fatboy would be the one I would pick. It wouldn't be at the expense of what I got. I love the big baggers electric glide that I've got. This would be in addition to it. That open air feeling, the laid back, more cruiser appearance, and of course Terminator 2, the greatest action science fiction film of all time. Alright, we have a less than 40-degree corner coming up here. Very tight hairpin, and we've got pedestrians in the way. It's all happening. Will the Fatboy do it? Certainly will. Look at that, navigates through anything with ease. It's into the laneway. Now for the Austin Powers 3 6-point turn, whatever it turns out to be. Alright. Gosh, it feels so light. It's hard to prove it to you all how easy it was just to walk it and do that. And this is a big heavyweight bike with huge wide custom looking tyres, and it's easy. You've got to test it out. If you're old, young, small, fat, big, look at that. Look at the stance. So fat, so low. What a peach. That's my electric glide in the background there, looking all good. Look at the side profile. We've got the chrome shining. Look at those solid disc Lakester land speed record wheels. The chrome front end. But it's got the presence, it's got the feel, it's got the look, and it's got that lineage back to Terminator 2. I mean, what more could you want in a bike? The Harley Davidson Fatboy of 2021.